hauling material to the front line.
You want the function, you want the service, right? Why do you want to own a cell phone if you can just lease it? And if you lease, why shouldn't you lease your refrigerator or your washing machine or your dishwasher, or why do you want to own it?
Look closer.
What's up, YouTube? Today, we'll be looking at disturbing TikToks that'll make you question reality. So without further ado, welcome to Adam Strain Reacts. Let's get her done.
Ever let my little girl wear polyester again. And when you see why, you won't let your family wear it either. Most people think polyester is just fabric. It's not. It's literally plastic. Here's how it's made. They start with crude oil or discard plastic bottles. They break it down, they melt it at extremely high heat, and they turn it into this thick, sticky liquid. That liquid gets pushed through holes called spinnerets, and it forms these long plastic threads. Those threads are stretched, cooled, and twisted into yarn. Then they add synthetic dyes and chemical treatments for color, softness, stretch, and quote-unquote performance. By the end, you have fabric made entirely of plastic with chemical coatings layered on top. And here's the problem. When you wear it, those plastic fibers shed. Microplastics and nanoplastics break off and absorb into the skin, and if you're sweating, even more. They carry hormone-disrupting chemicals, phthalates, BPA, and antimony. Your body absorbs them. They accumulate in your organs, your bloodstream, and your brain. And ladies, those polyester sports bras you're wearing during hot yoga or runs, they could be giving you the big C with a side of hormone disruption. Comment below what percentage of plastics that you're wearing. Let me know. I'd be curious.
I learned from other parents to always give a time warning.
Hey, we're gonna go in 3 more minutes.
And allow room for negotiation.
5 minutes.
5 minutes? Okay, I'm gonna set a timer for 5 minutes and then we gotta go, okay?
But always take advantage of the fact that kids can't tell time.
That is a robot taxi that has been set on fire during in downtown Los Angeles. Apparently several of the Waymo taxis have been destroyed. Meanwhile, on the other side of the planet, this is an unmanned vehicle hauling material to the front line. This is a vehicle getting tangled in thousands and thousands of feet of fiber optic cable. See, this now being fought overwhelmingly with drones, literally millions of them, and they work by trailing fiber optic cable behind them. See, the way you used to defeat these drones was by jamming their signals. But if they're trailing a wire behind them, it can't be jammed. So they just have these spools that can contain miles of this cable. So now there are entire stretches of the landscape just covered in this spider web of fiber optic. Birds have started building nests out of the cable and probably will be for decades. This is a technology that allows one of the craziest things I've seen in my life just earlier this month. Rigged up several semis where the tops would slide off and over 100 of these drones would fly out. They then sneaked those trucks into, parked them next to military airfields more than 2,000 miles away from the front lines. Then these $400 drones flew out and destroyed several $1 billion worth on the ground. And I'm sharing all of this just to say that this is how it is. You spend your whole life speculating on what the future will look like, and then one day it just shows up.
Wow, I had no idea. That's pretty crazy. Can you imagine the whole landscape being covered in those wires? I mean, I don't know what the repercussions of that are long term, but I had never thought about that. That's super interesting. Just to evade the jamming of the signals, they're just bringing back the wires. And that's what I mean, you know, if we don't want people listening to our stuff or having access to our information, all we have to do is be on our own servers, have everything wired, stop using Wi-Fi, stop using wireless. I feel like we've been sold a dream that wireless is better. But at the end of the day, in your house, I think the best thing would be to have wires so that, you know, there's no interception of signals, but also there's not as much radiation in the air. Anyways, did you guys know about the fact that they were using those spools of wire and that basically there's whole plots of land that are covered with that wire? I learned that today. Well, anyways, let's keep on rocking.
Did you know that Oxford University is older than the Aztec Empire? The University of Oxford was already teaching students around the year 1096. The Aztec Empire wouldn't rise for another 300 years. That should completely reset how you think about history. Because when Oxford began teaching medicine, there were no microscopes, no understanding of bacteria, no concept of germs. Doctors believed disease came from bad air, a theory called miasma. And yet, this was considered the highest level of knowledge available. Oxford existed centuries before calculus, before modern physics. before chemistry as we know it. It was already old before Leonardo da Vinci began dissecting bodies to understand human anatomy. For hundreds of years, no one even knew dinosaurs existed, until an Oxford professor helped identify them. Oxford was also teaching 400 years before the West even knew the Americas existed. Imagine being a student there when that discovery happened. Geography rewritten overnight, maps redrawn, entire worldviews collapsing. And here's the part that really messes with your head. We are now as far removed from Oxford's founding as Oxford's founding was from the time of Jesus. That means something important. The knowledge taught at Oxford in 1096 felt just as solid and unquestionable as what we're taught today, and much of it was wrong, which raises a quiet but uncomfortable question. What do we believe right now that future generations will look back on and ask, how did they not know?
Well, that did blow my mind as well. I mean, I had no idea that Oxford was at the same time as the pyramids, the Mayan pyramids being built. I mean, it's super interesting. It kind of puts everything back into perspective because in some way, shape, or form, I don't know if you guys are like me, but subconsciously, when I think about the Mayans, I think about the Egyptians, I think about 1,000, 2,000 years ago. So the fact that they were there while we had castles in Europe feels like a sort of dichotomy that doesn't really make sense, but at the same time, it seems like that is his story. So very interesting. Did you guys know about that? Let me know down below, and let's keep on rocking.
I could argue in the developed countries, the big winners are countries that have shrinking populations.
You do not even have to have elections anymore because you can already predict, and afterwards you can say, why do we need elections? Because we know what the result will be.
Our primary mission is, in fact, to set a global standard for the world for behavior.
What we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina, and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets.
You want the function, you want the service, right? Why do you want to own a cell phone if you can just lease it? And if you lease, why shouldn't you lease your refrigerator or your washing machine or your dishwasher, or why do you want to own it?
I propose putting an end to anonymity on social media.
If 1 billion people stop eating meat, I tell you, it has a big impact.
Can you imagine that in 10 years when we are sitting here, we have an implant in our brains? And we measure your brain waves.
There's some really interesting research that we can plant false memories in the brain. People believing that they've been at Disney World with characters who are not Disney characters, taking photographs with those characters.
And substituting humans for machines is going to be far easier in those countries that have declining populations.
I found the craziest life hack at the grocery store today. So normally, you got to go and you got to pull whatever it is you want to know about off the shelf, and you got to look around and find a barcode. And honestly, that takes longer than finding out who owns the thing. Because then it's like, cool, mega corporation, we'll put that back. But I learned on accident today that the barcode's right there. It's on the shelf. You don't even have to take it off the shelf to learn that's owned by General Mills, not buying that Cascadia bullshit. But Lovebird? Lovebird is family owned, baby. I mean, it's real expensive, but it's family owned. It's family owned. And so now I don't even take most of my products off the shelf. I just go bleep. I just snipe it right from there. You got to be careful though, because you might accidentally scan all the barcodes at once. So if you have some questions, or if it gives you an error, doesn't come up right, then maybe you want to pull it off the shelf and actually scan that barcode direct. But you can just learn it right off the front, just like that, dude. Just like that, dude. Like, bloop. Purely Elizabeth. Didn't even have to take it off the shelf. Found her own. Let's go. Bob's Red Mill. Do you know? Yeah. Employee owned. Not bad. Support family owned businesses. Stop giving your money to BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. F that.
The strangest. No matter what your opinion is on Ian Carroll, I really do admire this project that he did. So it gives us I'm not going to use the word weapon, but it gives us a tool to be able to decipher where the food comes from. So that's a step in the right direction, so we could actually figure out, okay, like there's 6 brands here, but they're all owned by the same person, so they're probably going to contain all the same things, right? So the fact of having a way to categorize and to catalog and to go see, who owns it, what are the reviews and this and that, then with time, more feedback, more options, I mean, it's fun to see solutions. It's easy to say, okay, let's make a compilation about all the problems, but I really love when we see some solutions coming out of this. So big up to Ian, truly appreciate it. Let's keep on rocking.
Part isn't even TPUSA. The strangest part is the lineage behind it. Lieutenant Colonel wrote a book called Mind War while stationed at the Presidio in San Francisco. Not a self-help book, not a political rant, a blueprint for psychological warfare. Mass persuasion, narrative control, cognitive terrain. And Aquino was also an open Satanist. He never hid it, never denied it.
Aquino and his wife, you are a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army.
Correct.
Now, and how does the Army feel about you being head of the Temple of Set?
The Army has known about my religion for the entire span of my Army career, which began in 1968. And there was a reasonable amount of curiosity, as there has been all the way along, with what exactly is this strange and unusual thing. And I've talked about it in much the same way that I've talked here today on your show about it.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, the Army has paid very little attention to it, the same as it would to anybody who was, say, a follower of Hinduism or of Buddhism or any other slightly unusual religion today.
So you just go about your Army duties and it's fine and okay? Yeah.
Now here's the part people skip past. Aquino didn't write Mind War alone. His collaborative with retired Major General Paul E. Vallely. Fast forward. Vallely sits on the board at Turning Point USA. So take a step back. Strip away the merch, the slogans, the crowd noise. What is TPUSA actually doing? It's not just debating ideas. It's persuasion at scale. Changing minds. Moving groups. Steering perception. And when the same people tied to a psychological warfare playbook are embedded inside a movement built to shape mass belief, coincidence stops being a useful explanation. This isn't about symbols. This is about methods. Because Mind War doesn't care what flag you wave. It only cares that you don't notice you're waving it.
As I will prove it here again, 2 different NASA missions claimed ownership of the same footage, making them liars. And the propagandists can't claim it's a simple mistake because both mission astronauts commented on the video as though they witnessed the event, and the second video was even altered slightly. Let's first watch the STS-32 mission, which launched on January 9th, 1990. I pulled the video from this channel, and the timestamp is there too in case you want to look it up yourself. I will fast forward to the footage at issue.
The most difficult part about a shuttle mission is getting a whole crew to...
I want to see rockets that big. You see some of the ice floating around as the external tank comes off after the fuel is expended. This is on orbit after 8.5 minutes. Again, from that same camera in the belly of the vehicle, kind of a unique view of the external tank going down. This is the one part of the whole system that is not recovered. It breaks up in the atmosphere and lands in the Pacific Ocean in our case.
Now, let's watch the footage from STS-78, which was launched on June 20th, 1996. And this is where I pulled the video from. I'll fast forward again to the footage in question.
Here we are suiting up at the Kennedy Space Center for our launch on June 20th.
Well, it was just absolutely fantastic to see be in space and see this great piece of American technology come off the external tank. It was really difficult for Rick and I to focus on getting pictures of this because here we saw the Earth and land masses and the oceans floating beneath us. But the external tank just did a super job.
Now let's watch the 2 separate videos synced. Remember, these videos were supposedly filmed over 6 years apart. If you're really paying attention, you might notice that the 2 videos are almost identical, but not 100%. Yes, they most certainly use the same footage, but the one on the right includes a few more particles, and I don't think it's just the increased brightness. Which means they manipulated the footage further, which only proves that this was willful deception.
I read this book where 15 billionaires were interviewed, and 1 in 15 told the truth about money. The question was, how do people become wealthy? And Charles Schwab said discount brokerage accounts. Charles became wealthy creating the discount brokerage account, not putting money in one. Vanguard, they interview Bogle and they say, how can people become wealthy? An index fund, it's reducing fees. No, he became wealthy because he popularized or created the index fund. So all of these people kept saying it was about how you just hand your money over, which is an accumulation mindset. And accumulation comes down to 3 factors. And none of these factors lead to sustainable wealth. The first factor, which is very defeating for people, is this notion that it takes money to make money. It takes your money for them to make money. Wall Street gets paid on an ETF or a mutual fund, whether it goes up or down, because they always get their percentage. The second notion is high risk equals high return. They don't take risk. You take the risk. They get the return. That's a notion of the middle class that convinces us to separate ourselves from money instead of looking at what we could do to improve cash flow today, protect the downside. And then the third one, this will trigger people, but no one that's extraordinarily wealthy got there by compound interest.
Coffee is their absolutely most favorite psychoactive drug for controlling the population out of all the repetitive content that they lace throughout your media. Coffee's number 1, alcohol's number 2. Alcohol used to be their number 1 till around 1610. The ruling group in 1610 was residing in the United Kingdom as the ruling group there. They discovered the caffeine in some of their colonies in the teas. But in around 1680, when they were doing, I think, cutting through Saudi Arabia, they found coffee. And they hurried back and said, you think the caffeine disrupts health and disrupts brain function, which it really does. Caffeine, if you look it up on the internet right now, you'll see that caffeine shuts oxygen flow and blood flow down to the brain by 20 to 30%. And that's a lowball estimate, but that's what you'll find on Google. The big favorite effect is if you drink coffee, you deactivate and have a lot less blood flow and oxygen to what's called your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain, the most evolved part of your brain just behind your forehead. It's the CEO and spiritual center of your mind. It's the morality center, and it's your ethics center. And if you haven't noticed, in today's day and age, there's a big gap in the morality and ethics rolling around. And this group knows this. They know this stuff. You don't know this stuff.
Then there's this.
Interesting. Although I do know that there is effects of caffeine. I'm not sure of the causality of what he was saying of like reduced morality and this and that. I think it's more of an effect, and the root cause of that is that when you drink coffee, I've seen a guy do a video, I think we've passed it on the video on the channel once. Basically, he puts his blood after drinking coffee under the microscope, and then he looks at it, and you could see that all the components get all jumbled up together and they move slowly. So of course, if you have less blood flow and you have less movement, then there's going to be less oxygenization of any part, whether it be the prefrontal cortex or whether it be the brain or any other part of the body. So it does actually make sense what he was saying. As for the causality, I don't know, but it's very interesting. The other thing that I think it doesn't take a genius to find out is that we are heavily indoctrinated to drink coffee. I mean, when I say indoctrinated, I mean like every TV show, every movie, everything you see, as soon as someone wakes up, boom, coffee. It's all about, coffee being a part of the morning routine. From what I understood, coffee was adopted, more of like the coffee break while people were working was to increase productivity and reduce tiredness and basically, just get more out of us, So it kind of makes sense that they would want us in that state where you have less blood flow to to your mind, to your brain, to be able to take all these decisions or question or doubt. You'll be more in the automatic mode. So it kind of makes sense. So let me know what you guys think. Do you love coffee? Do you hate coffee? Can you live without it? Even if you know it's bad, can you give it up? Let me know down below, and let's keep on rocking.
Salt thing, you know, everybody, oh, you got to give up salt because it causes. The first thing a good farmer puts out for his livestock is about that big. It's a salt block, right? And of course, I refuse to believe that my dumber than an old cow. And so I used to tell him, hey, just go ahead and take all the salt you want. And Wallach, you're flying in the face of all the weight of food. And of course, there never is, there never was, and there never will be any weight of that salt is bad for you. And there was a study that was done, the Journal of the American Medical Association. They looked at 56 studies that had been done around the world on salt, combined them into one study. And they said, hey, people who have normal and then they only reduce their. There is no proof in the pudding that getting.
What would I have to vouch for that? My whole life, I got taught that. I mean, I spoke about it on the channel before. I'm just gonna say it quickly again. That my whole life, I got taught that it was very bad to eat salt and this and that. And recently, I've been having way more salt, way more contact with salt. I've been buying or filtering water that doesn't necessarily have the minerals in it. So I've been putting my own minerals instead of, you know, consuming the minerals that they put into the water that come from who knows, you know, that comes from a byproduct of another process, you know. And I could tell you that I've never consumed as much salt as this year, and I've never felt as good. So just saying, if you're afraid of salt, I don't know about table salt, but you know, a salt that has a high containing of minerals and that doesn't have a lot of heavy metals, amazing. So let me know what you guys think down below. Have you had the same experience? Does salt do you good? Do you bad? Let me know down below. Let's keep on rocking.
To us today. I'm fine because my soul is secure in Christ.
La voix d'un homme remplacée par un programme dans une église. On se croirait dans un film dystopique.
A computer can take what really mattered to a man.
Le plan est sous nos yeux, remplacer l'humain par la machine. C'est ça le vrai turning point. Kirk est exfiltré et on le remplace par une IA.
It's a promotion.
Même discours chez Melania.
It is our duty to treat AI as we would our own children.
Et Trump s'est réuni avec les 33 acteurs clés de la Silicon Valley
AI is going to change everything.
Pour avancer l'agenda transhumaniste.
Build out data centers and infrastructure to...
Le 33, c'est la signature des rituels de transformation, c'est pour ça qu'il revient tout le temps. Et l'épisode 330 de South Park fait référence à Kirk, avant le tir.
What is a woman?
What is a woman?
L'émotion divise et on pousse des lois contre la haine.
With hate speech, we will target you.
Woke contre MAGA, clivage Est-Ouest. L'issue, c'est toujours plus de surveillance. Il polarise la masse dans tous les contextes. Russie-Ukraine, Gaza-Hamas, Epstein, Clinton, Covid. Tout ce qui est mainstream est encodé. Ils avancent ensemble, comme Candace Owens l'affirme.
I'm one of the Masons of Turning Point USA.
Donc posez-vous cette question. Si les gouvernements étaient vraiment en conflit, pourquoi ils convergeraient tous vers le même futur?
Do you see the problem with the clip I'm about to show you? It's from the most recent season of Stranger Things. People have been sharing this clip on social media saying that this is everything that's wrong with Netflix and streaming shows in general, which is that shots like this are framed and lit specifically to be shared on social media, on vertical video formats like Reels and TikTok and YouTube Shorts. I am not an expert, but I feel like I can see this everywhere once it was pointed out to me, where they are basically only using the center third of the frame and often leaving everything else out of focus. Here's that show on Disney Plus. I feel like you can kind of see the same thing. It's not that every shot does it, but they're doing it with key moments that they want to be shared. Here's another Netflix show. I feel like you can kind of see the same thing. Again, it's not every shot, just a lot of them. To be clear, this is not the technique that Stanley Kubrick used, where he was basically creating a tunnel for your vision to focus here. where the whole frame is intended to draw your eye to a spot. The complaint is that these shows don't use the rest of the frame at all. Now, one thing that's interesting about this is that the far more common complaint I see about Stranger Things is that the characters spend too much time explaining the plot to each other as if they know the audience is distracted on their phone while they're watching this on their TV. That actually doesn't bother me because that's been a staple of television since forever. It was always assumed that while you were watching TV that you were doing something else. You were folding the laundry or reading a newspaper or eating a meal. I would argue that old network TV actually used to be worse, because back then it was routine for people to join the show halfway through because they flipped over from something else during a commercial break. So it was routine to have characters constantly remind each other what was going on. Whereas this thing with the shot framing is something that I now notice every time it happens. I'm just immediately thinking, oh, they intended this part to be shared. Is this something you also have noticed, or am I way off base here?
I had seen that video like a while ago, and to put it to the test, I watched a few different things from very different genres or styles or whatever, but that came out recently. And man, he's right. Like, it's pretty sad to think about, but it makes sense, you know, because they make a movie and they're like, forget putting $500 million in promotion, people will promote it themselves. So let's just make their shots perfect, centered, so that when, you know, they put it up to TikTok, it shows what we need them to show. And yeah, it kind of makes sense. It's kind of sad because now, you know, most producers or whatever, they won't use like the whole screen and be as cinematographic. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. Let me know what you guys think down below. Have you noticed something like that? Go back, watch a few things, and let me know what you guys think down below. Thank you for reaching the end with me. And that's a wrap for today, familia. Whether you're tuning in with the sunrise or you're posted up after midnight, I appreciate your time, your energy, your curiosity. And don't forget, this isn't about truth or fiction. This is about perspective. If this sparked a thought, a laugh, a deeper question, then we did our job. So drop your thoughts in the comments, keep the convo alive, like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell if you're riding the wave, because we're just getting started. Until next time, stay grounded, stay weird, stay critical. I'm Adam Strain, and this has been Adam Strain Reacts. Peace! I don't know what y'all think, but now's the time for us to link up. Really think we on a break up, making a change from living this strange.